In this video, we're going to be talking about your career and how your career can set you up for success when it comes to your property journey, whether you're looking to buy your own home or an investment property. Now, my career journey was a little bit different. In high school, they sit you down with a careers advisor and ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? Now, I had a very clear idea. I wanted to be a soccer player, but that was actually pretty unrealistic. And so by about the age of 15, I worked out that I wanted to go into business. Now, specifically because business is so generic, I didn't know exactly what business I wanted to do. I didn't know I was going to become a buyer's agent and that was going to be my business. But for me, that meant I wanted to become an accountant. Now, I actually ended up becoming a full chartered accountant and started out as an auditor. Being a chartered accountant definitely gave me knowledge and skills that helped me in my property journey. It gave me a deep understanding of the numbers from a financial statements point of view and how to work with brokers and banks over those first few years of my career. And it also gave me the knowledge of what questions to ask brokers and banks to grow our property portfolio. Now, some data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that the average household income has increased by 19% between 2020 and 2024. Meanwhile, house prices in Brisbane increased 46% between 2020 and 2022, and a further 14.4% by May 2024. This is showing that for the average Joe, no matter what career you are in, incomes are just not keeping up with property prices, which is why I think it's so important for people to invest in assets. Whether it's property or whether it's stocks, I think you need to invest your savings to keep up with the market because your day job income just isn't keeping up. Now, Finder data shows it would take 25 years to save a deposit on a typical Brisbane house now, priced at around $850,000 for young professionals in computer and information systems, engineering or dentistry. The typical post-graduation salary for these industries is ranged from $66,000 to $90,000. The study highlighted problems related to the affordability of housing for young people. A medical graduate earning a starting salary of $75,000 would need to save for 26 years or 27 years for a Tyler earning $85,000 to buy their first property. At the other end of the scale, school leavers considering a career in the creative arts may face a rental roller coaster. It takes 42 years to raise a deposit on a starting salary of $52,000. Now, there are a lot more articles like this, which show average incomes around $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 at this point in time. For first home buyers, it is difficult to break into the market, especially if you're not able to create a disparity between your income and your expenses and actually save your take-home pay. It's especially possible for people to save the most money on big ticket items. For me, I believe that's rent or the roof over your head, holidays, and your car. Those are going to be the three areas where you can save the most money. In terms of the roof over your head, maybe you can live a little bit longer with mum and dad, and that will help you increase your savings significantly. If you're paying $200 a week in a share house, that's $10,000 a year that you're out of pocket. Maybe you can negotiate with mum and dad that you pay board of $75 a week, and that's a saving of $6,000 in that example. Or if you can find a partner or a flatmate to reduce your costs significantly, that's another way you might be able to reduce your rental costs. Emily and I did exactly that ourselves. We didn't have a flashy place for the first 3 to 5 years of our property journey. We lived in very basic apartments, which were pretty rough around the edges, but it saved on our rental costs, allowed us to save more money, and that's how we were able to get the ball rolling with our first deposit. Now, when it comes to travel and car expenses, it's about being savvy. With your travel, can you get discounted flights? Can you go on holidays and stay in hostels? Do you need to stay in 5-star accommodation or even 4-star accommodation? Be a bit more reasonable with your budgets and try and take advantage of deals that are out there. And with your car, do you need 2 cars if you're a household of 2 people? Can you get away with 1 car for 3 or 4 years? Emily and I had a Holden Barina up until only a few years ago. We had the one little Holden Barina between 2 of us, and we made it work. Now we have 2 cars. I don't know how we would make that work anymore, but we had a Holden Barina worth about $5,000 and we drove that and sold it eventually after about 8 or 9 years. Running that little $5,000 car for a 5 or 6 year period probably saved us somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 a year in car expenses if we'd owned 2 cars or even a nicer car for that matter. So look at how you can cut down on those big ticket items to save more money and create more disparity between your income and expenses. Now, according to Seek, the average salary in Australia is currently around $98,000 per year. And $100K doesn't get you as much as it used to. 100K just isn't 100K anymore. And that's the same with millionaires. $1 million isn't like a millionaire back in the 2000s. If you look at millionaires of today, they need around $8 million to be similar to a millionaire at around that $1 million in the 2000s era. Now, what can you do in your career? Obviously, there's going to be more careers that lend to people creating higher capacity as they get more senior in their jobs. I would suggest to people, if I started again, that I looked at a career that had more commission-based role, because if you can get commission, the harder you work, you're going to get a direct reward. There's industries in sales, obviously, in mortgage broking, being a buyer's agent, for example, or running your own business. All of those areas are going to be commission-based roles. So if you do well and create lots of value for people, you're going to be directly rewarded financially. Now, there are obviously professionals like doctors, lawyers, engineers, and accountants that can do really well long-term and create a high PAYG income. Would you believe when I started out, I earned $45,000, $55,000, and $60,000 total per year in my first 3 years as an accountant. Now, you have to get your foot in the door and start somewhere. And then that was my trade. That was my start as an auditor in the first 3 years. But from there, I was able to increase my income significantly. I then moved out into the commercial industry as an accountant and went to $80,000 and then $100,000 and then $120,000 plus. And so you can increase your income significantly if you're willing to make the jump. So if you're not happy with the current income you're on, it's definitely worth having a look around and seeing what other areas or seeing what other jobs are out there. You can also ask your boss for a promotion. There's nothing stopping you every 6 to 12 months asking, hey, I want to potentially earn some more income. I'm looking to grow my income because I want a better lifestyle for me and my family. And I believe I'm providing big value to this company I'm working for. And so discuss with your boss how you can get a pay rise in the next 6 to 12 months. I think the most important thing is you do need to increase your income with what's happening with the brokers and the banks at this point in time. You'll have heard a lot about a 6 DTI or debt to income ratio. So if you earn $100,000, generally you're allowed 6 times multiple in terms of the debt you're allowed to accumulate. So that would give you around $600,000 worth of debt, which might enable you to buy, say, a $700,000 to $800,000 property. Now, for most people, that means you're going to get tapped out. If you're not earning more income or creating more income disparity between your income and your expenses, leaving you more free cash flow, the banks are going to stop lending you money at some point. Most everyday Australians are going to have a serviceability cap, where they've chatted with NAB, they've chatted with CBA, and the bank's not willing to lend them any more money. And that's where you need to get savvy with buying the right types of property at the right period of time and looking to maximize your day job incomes and be efficient with how you work with the brokers and banks. One of the biggest tips I can give you is maximize your income before you have kids, or if you've got kids and you're on double incomes, maximize your income for a 1 to 2 year period and go through a heavy acquisition phase during this time. This is exactly what Emily and I did to grow our property portfolio and maximize our potential to get over a $5 million asset base. We were both working as PAYG employees. We were both earning over $100,000 each, and we were using this massive serviceability at that point in time to build the asset base rapidly. Now, what we were able to do was acquire and grow that property portfolio to over $5 million while we had that higher PAYG income. And then Emily actually went on maternity leave and never went back to the ATO. Because we've been able to acquire the assets we needed, she was able to take an extended period of time of leave from the ATO and eventually joined Purpose Property as an employee down the track. Now, for me, moving out as a chartered accountant and financial controller into the buyer's agency, it means I needed to create 2 years of tax returns to get access to lending again. And that's where we're at this point in time. We've had over 3 years of tax returns in Purpose Property, and we can now show that to the banks and get full doc lending for our future purchases, which brings down the interest rates and allows us to access a significant amount of capital to continue building our property portfolio. So it doesn't matter whether you're a teacher, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a tradie, or you're working in the mines. It doesn't matter what area you're working in. It matters that you're creating disparity between your income and your expenses. If possible, you're minimizing on those massive areas that you can save costs in. You're working with a partner to boost your income as much as possible in an opportune time where you're both earning significantly and using that borrowing capacity to acquire the assets you need, both looking at capital growth and cash flow and taking a long-term perspective. Now, if you're looking to buy a property here in Southeast Queensland, whether it's your own home or whether it's an investment property in the next 6 months, then head over to purposeproperty.com.au. We're going to sit down and have a chat. We'll talk for about half an hour about your situation, what your short and your long-term goals are, and how we can help you secure a property here in the Brisbane market. Now, if you're interested in seeing me talk in more detail on my career as an accountant and what I earned in the first 5 years, then make sure you click this video over here. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.